so there was a second trial. More people were in the courtroom, some feeling sorry for Maria and others wanting justice for the victims. David stood up in dilemma, tears falling from his eyes. Without thinking about his mom's sacrifices, he walked away, surprising everyone. In a small, dim apartment, the air felt heavy and sad. Maria, a middle-aged woman, sat hunched over a pile of bills. Her fingers shook as she held a final notice. She felt the crushing weight of money problems, making it hard to breathe. Her only son, David, was about to graduate from university, but they didn't have the money for his final exams. She had tried everything, begging for loans, looking for extra work, and even selling her few precious things. But nothing worked. Desperation ate at her like a hungry monster, each unpaid bill reminding her she was failing her son. Maria never thought she would think about crime. But as she watched the clock tick, her mind went to places she never wanted to go. She had heard about a gang that robbed local businesses, shadowy figures on the edge of society. Desperation outweighed fear, and one night, hidden in darkness, Maria approached them. They laughed at first, mocking the small woman before them. But when they saw the determination in her eyes, they gave her a chance, their laughter turning to respect. Her first robbery was a blur of fear and excitement. The gang hit a small jewelry store, and Maria, with a borrowed gun in her hand, felt like she was watching someone else threaten the scared shop owner. They got away with a lot of money, and for a moment, Maria felt relief. She had the money for David's exams. She told herself she would never do it again, that this was a one-time sacrifice for her son's future. But the second robbery was different. The police were waiting. Maria's heart pounded as sirens wailed around her. She was caught, handcuffed, and thrown into the back of a police car. The next morning, the story was all over the news. David saw it from his dorm room, the screen flashing, local woman arrested in armed robbery. His heart sank as he recognized his mother's face, filled with guilt and shame. His world fell apart, his image of his mother forever changed. The courtroom buzzed with voices as Maria's trial reached its end. The judge's gavel struck sharply, calling the room to order. Maria stood in the dock, her hands trembling slightly. For the past year, her life had been full of despair and brief moments of hope. Widowed young and left to raise her only son, David, alone, she had worked tirelessly to give him a better future. David was her pride, a bright young man with a promising future. He had been accepted into a prestigious university in Nigeria, and Maria had worked hard to pay his tuition. But as the final year approached, her money ran out, and desperation took over. It was sad news, shocking Maria's small community. Known for her humility and hard work, her involvement in such a crime seemed unbelievable. The first trial was full of emotions. Maria's defense lawyer, a young and hopeful man named Emeka, argued passionately. He painted a picture of a woman driven to the brink by poverty and the overwhelming love for her son. He pleaded with the court to see beyond the crime to the mother whose only wish was to see her son graduate. The prosecutor, a strict woman known for being very tough, had torn apart Emeka's arguments with sharp, clear points. She talked about how serious the crime was, how scared the victims were, and the strict laws about armed robbery in Nigeria. Maria cried a lot, feeling her heart break as she listened to the prosecutor's harsh words. The jury couldn't agree, so there was a second trial. This time, more people were in the courtroom, some feeling sorry for Maria and others wanting justice for the victims. David stood up in dilemma, tears falling from his eyes. Without thinking about his mom's sacrifices, he walked away, surprising everyone. The final decision was near. The judge, an old man with a serious but kind face, started to talk. He spoke seriously about the fact of the case, the victims, and the laws he had to follow. He understood Maria's hard life and her love for her son, but he also talked about the need to follow the law. Maria Okoro, he said, "This court understands your struggle and the good intentions behind your actions. However, the law must be followed. The crime of armed robbery has serious consequences. This court sentences you to 5 years in prison." People gasped in shock. Maria's legs gave way, and she fell to her knees, crying loudly. As the guards took Maria away, the courtroom slowly emptied, leaving behind the sad story of a mother's love and the strictness of justice. In prison, Maria's life was full of long, empty days. The grey walls of her cell matched the sadness in her heart. Her letters to David went unanswered. She cried for him and for the life she had ruined. Her thoughts were dark and full of regret. The once lively woman who had fought for her son's future now felt lost in a sea of sadness, each day a reminder of her choices. David was also upset. At first, he felt disgusted and angry, seeing his mother as a thief. He avoided friends and classmates, scared they would find out the truth. His girlfriend, Emily, noticed he was different. One evening, she gently asked him to talk. Through tears and anger, David told her everything, letting out all his feelings. Emily listened and then spoke softly. "David, your mother did this because she loves you. She was desperate. Maybe it's time to forgive her." Her words made David think differently. He started to see his mom's actions as desperate, not just wrong. He felt guilty for leaving her. Finally, he decided to visit her, to try and understand, and maybe forgive. He hoped that seeing her might help fix their broken relationship. But when David got to the prison, it was very quiet. A serious-looking guard took David to a small, cold room. There, David was told that his mother had taken her own life the night before. The news hit David hard. Maria, feeling very guilty and sad, had left this world because she couldn't handle what she had done and how David had left her. The guard gave David a letter from his mother. Crying, David read it. "My dearest David, as I write this letter, I can't stop crying. By the time you read this, I will have left this world, hoping to find peace. I have always loved you so much, and everything I did was for you, to help you be happy in life. When I did that terrible thing of robbing a store, it wasn't because I was greedy or wanted to hurt anyone, but because I loved you and wanted you to graduate from university. I wanted to give you chances I never had, to help you escape from our hard life. Every bit of money I risked my life for was meant for your future. I knew I was doing something wrong, but I never thought you would leave me. Your silence and absence have been harder to bear than being in prison. The letters I wrote to you, the visits I hoped for, never came. Each day in this cell, my heart broke a little more. I understand that what I did was wrong and hurt others. But, David, I did it for you. When you left me, it felt like my reason for living was taken away. I hoped you would forgive me and understand how desperate I was. Now, as I leave this world, I am not angry with you. I am just very sad that I couldn't see you one last time, couldn't hug you and tell you how much I love you. I hope you find success, remember what I tried to teach you, and live a happy life. Please, David, never forget that everything I did was because I loved you. I hope that one day you can forgive me for the pain I caused. I will always watch over you from a place where there is no more pain or sadness. Goodbye, my precious David. Be strong, be kind, and live a life that would make me proud. With all my love, your mother. David dropped to his knees, crying hard. He missed his mom so much it hurt, like a big wave crashing over him. She had done something bad because she was desperate, and now she was gone. He hugged the empty space where she used to be, his sobs echoing in the quiet prison halls. His pain was real and sharp, like a wound that would never heal. Later, Emily came and found David still crying. She could see how sad he was. She hugged him and tried to say comforting things, but they didn't help much. The prison felt even more closed in around them, reminding them of the sad end of his mom's love. Emily's hug was a little bit of light in his dark world, reminding him he wasn't completely alone. David would always remember the scars from his mom's sacrifice and his own sadness. Outside, life went on, not caring about his pain. His mom had made a desperate choice, leaving him with a heavy heart. Her memory and the high price she paid would stay with him forever, a sad reminder of how fragile hope is and how strong desperation can be.